What's up, everybody? Coach Kurt here with the Elvis Collie Fight Team, representing the Fight House Talks podcast today on this lovely Saturday afternoon here in Homer, Alaska. So today I'm going to be joined by my good friend Jarid Symens, also known as Coach Grizzly. He's a phenomenal martial artist in his own right. He's a fight coach. He's a promoter. He's a center referee for a lot of the fight promotions here in Alaska. He's a U.S. Air Force veteran, and he's been my good friend for several years. And I've been very fortunate to have him in my life and in my circle, and especially during this life in transition from shutting the gym down and reemerging into this new world that I'm in now. So, um, he's going to be popping in here in a little bit, but make sure to tell me where you're at. Share this link, share the live stream, and yeah, be glad to spend this wonderful Saturday afternoon with everybody. But yeah, go feel free to drop in comments. Yeah, I'd be happy to see everybody here, and we'll get this thing started here in a little bit as soon as he pops in. And in the meantime, yeah, share, subscribe, like, do all those things that involves with social media and all that nonsense. But in the meantime, I'm gonna play this awesome intro, and here we go. So I'm gonna play this video. He's running a little behind, but this is his MMA debut here in Alaska. So yeah, enjoy this for a little bit. So what's interesting about Alaska, and when it comes to just MMA and combat
Told
sports in
you.
general, is that we don't actually have a lot of people here. I mean, Alaska itself is a fairly small community when it comes to population density. So, like, what's interesting about Alaska also is that Alaska does not have a proper fight commission. So, we don't have a boxing commission. We don't have professional sports, so to speak. We don't have like all the typical things you would think of in a larger state. I mean, we are the largest state in the union, but we are also one of the smallest population centers in the union. So when it comes to like combat sports and full contact fighting and just martial arts in general as a profession, Alaska is kind of the Wild West in a lot of ways. I mean, it's fitting because we're here on the frontier, the last frontier. But when it comes to mixed martial arts, there is a lot of innovation that just happens up here because we're so remote, we're so distant. And what's really cool is there's a lot of really interesting talent that comes up here to Alaska that fights at the Alaska Fighting Championship, also known as the AFC, which in this video, this is Jared's debut MMA match, which I think this was like 10 years ago. So we'll let this run and play until Jared gets here, just because he's dropping kids off and everything. So, but yeah, here we go. Here is him jumping in the cage. So, interesting enough, I've actually taken fighters up to AFC when I had the gym. I had Etienne Stewart's and Jason Palak up there, and also Jay Harris was attached to us as well with the Elvis Collie Fight Team. And this is a really cool promotion because they're on the UFC streaming service. So you have access to a lot of the semi-pro pro fighters that come out of Alaska, and this is a good place for MMA fighters to really like get their footing underneath them when it comes to building up enough repetition, building up enough fights, history and help fill out their experience. So you see people come up here, fight out of AFC like Cannonier, who I think is out of Wasilla. You also had Demetrius Johnson fight up here. You had Lauren Murphy, who's fought up here. Trying to think who else has fought up here with the AFC. That's the UFC fighter. I mean, there's several that UFC fighters that have had their start here in Alaska, or not their start, but like have fought here in Alaska and moved on to bigger and better things. But this is the cool thing about being here in the last frontier, the Wild West, when it comes to MMA and combat sports, is this is a good place to start. And what's really interesting also is with combat sports, here in Alaska in general, this is kind of like that little jump off point between roughhouse boxing and to a professional approach. So what's cool about with Jared is that he has done the whole gambit when it comes to combat sports here in Alaska. He's been a fighter, obviously, because this is his debut MMA match here, but he's also been a coach. He's been a gym owner. He's a center referee for quite a few of our promotions, to include like the promotion that I was involved with Matthew Plant. And I mean, he also is now a fight promoter, which is, I mean, he's going full circle. And having that kind of experience is really helpful because what it does is it helps develop a healthy fight community in general. Because in the old school roughhouse boxing, tough man competitions that were typical of like the late 80s, early 90s, I mean, the no holds bar rule sets were just that. There was very minimal rules. And I mean, it was beer and blood, um, at a bar most of the time, and it was pretty barbaric. It was pretty undeveloped. Fighters didn't get paid very well, and actually, it was very dangerous for the fighters to be at these places because, I mean, everyone's like to take a pot shot at the fighter after the fight. I mean, we've experienced a little bit of that here when we did the fights here in Homer, um, where we had a couple of fights at Alice's, and it was an interesting circumstance where it's small, it's tight, and definitely very ruckus. Now, when it comes to Jared won there. Um, uh, in the landscape of what mixed martial arts can be, from where it has been and where it is now, is like with guys with Jared, he brings a lot of class to the fights. He's an extreme professional. He is a phenomenal mentor, and that comes from having cut his teeth on doing some of those roughhouse fights in the past, and then seeing how things develop over the years here in Alaska. And what he brings to like the Thursday night fights is that higher elevation of class. Not saying that they weren't classy before, because it was definitely roughhouse boxing for a long time. But what Jared brings is that, I guess that connection to the overall fight community that is here in Alaska. Because I mean, he's worked with a lot of athletes. He's worked with my guys. He's worked with me. He's worked with so many people here in the state that everybody just loves him, and there's good reason for it because he's got good ethos. He's loyal to those he's loyal to, and he's a professional above all. And what that does is when he's there as a center ref, he is the ultimate. Uh, Official when it comes there in the ring because it's him and the fighters. And what that does when he's doing the promotion side is it brings that class and that character and that professionalism shines through. So as soon as he logs in here, that'll be great to see his thoughts on it. But yeah, that was a quick one round and pound win for him there on his first debut. But yeah, definitely drop your comments in there. Yeah, it's we're still fairly new at this, but it's okay. Ah, here we go. Brother Jared,
How's it going, amigo?
not bad. So, just killing some time showing your highlights from your debut MMA match there at AFC, back in
That's
the
funny.
Yeah, those knees, dude.
No, fun thing, man. Well, he was pretty close to my knees. He was a short little fella, so kind of
Yeah,
he's I had to kind of go down on some of them strikes. It was an interesting fight. I was happy I got the fight. It was hard to
yeah,
find a fight for a second, and I was just happy to get a fight. So
yeah,
and it was as a goal, started off this late, and getting to having that first MMA fight was a pretty big deal.
yeah. So I'll let you get settled and let this thing run. And yeah, I've just been speaking your praise and my history with you here in Alaska and just talking about the
Cool.
overall landscape of what Alaska mixed martial arts and combat sports has been. Because I mean, Alaska, I mean, the last frontier and is also kind of like the Wild West when it comes to combat sports.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
with no athletic commission whatsoever to speak of, it kind of can go whatever way you want to take it. And if people want to fight a certain way, they can fight a certain way. You don't have to worry about commission to prevent it.
Right.
But we have a decent community of people that are trying to watch out for each other, though. Here,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So yeah. So yeah. Let's talk about you, Jared. I mean, you're the man of the hour here. Let's let's tell Alaska. Let's tell our viewers here because this is the Fight House Talks podcast, and the things that we are trying to bring to our viewership in our community is that our mandate is talking and having candid conversations about life, violence, and martial arts. So with that, let's go back in time. Let's talk about your martial arts journey. Let's get to know you, Jared.
Well, I came from an injury, really. When I first got out of the military, I hurt my back real bad. I was in a did a construction job, and ended up getting busted up decently with a construction accident. Kind of messed up in between my L4 and L5, and so ended up putting on a bunch of weight. I weighed like 270 pounds at one time, and just bad back, couldn't get through anything. But went through and fixed my back, and then in the process of fixing my back, I found martial arts. I was a big fan of MMA and UFC for a long time. I was a huge fan of boxing, a big fan of Roy Jones Jr. And then finally got the opportunity. I grew up in Anchor Point, Homer. There wasn't much of this stuff growing up, and yeah. So it didn't really have ever a chance. I was always a big fan, never had a really good chance to ever try. So met these people on Spangdahlem Air Force Base. I was a contractor for the military. And I ended up meeting a bunch of these guys and started training jiu-jitsu and a bunch of stuff a couple times a week there on Spangdahlem Air Force Base. And then I met some UFC fighters that come in through USO shows and such. And so it was kind of fun. That's kind of where it started. And then one of the days I was training with them, and one of the guys saying, "Oh, your kicks are pretty decent." And we were doing striking one day. He said, "You should go check out this Muay Thai gym off base." And it was in a place called Vitlich, which is outside of Spangdahlem. And so I went over there and tried it out. It happened to be my 27th birthday. So my 27th birthday is when I started. And so I went there, and the guy was supposed to come with me. He was one of my buddies, right? He's supposed to come with me, but he ghosted me. So I ended up going to the gym by myself. So that was the only American there. So there's guys from Kosovo. There's a guy from Lebanon. There's a guy from Iraq and Iran. There's the German guys there. So, all these different guys. It was pretty neat to, the hodgepodge. And here I'm just the silly American guy. So I just started going in there, and I was just excited, and like watching way too much stupid things like Van Damme and stuff growing up. I was excited about Muay Thai, but I had my favorites. I was a big fan of Muay Thai. Like I'm a big fan of Smart Paya Karun. He's a really good Muay Thai guy from the golden era. But I was a huge fan of kickboxing growing up as well. So so it was really cool to get involved. So I was really excited. So my instructor really enjoyed it. So it was fun getting into that first gym.
Nice. So going back even further, I mean, you grew up here in the Lower Peninsula. Yeah. What was it like back in the 90s, in the early 2000s with Homer and Anchor Point? I mean, there's not a lot going on down here.
No, just mischief. Just get into mischief, man. There, it's just allowed for opportunity to probably get into more problems than anything else. So, it's just one of those things. There wasn't a lot of outlets, but it's great, a great place and good people and good community. But, it was hard to find stuff for kids to actually really do and have something that's a good creative outlet.
Still is a problem.
Yeah, it's really hard, especially in small communities, it's really hard to do so. So growing up, I played a lot of basketball, and I enjoyed playing basketball. And that was one of my kind of solaces while I was there, when, being kind of isolated down there in Anchor Point, Homer. But yeah, that was one of the things, never getting the opportunity. One of those things I wish I would have had an opportunity, because it's how much, I know this helped me grow as a person.
Right.
And, and the things I'll be able to do now, be able to help as many people as I do. It's just, I wish I would have discovered this earlier.
Absolutely.
That's kind of one of the things that, I'm really happy. But retrospect is like, God, I wish I would have, listened to things that were trying to show me to go down this path a lot sooner. But I'm really happy to how things are going now.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is we can't change the past, but we definitely can look at it in retrospectively. But we also we actually change the past, because it brings us to who we are today.
Yeah.
So, and it's really interesting looking back at stuff in general, because looking at Homer in general when it comes to martial arts. Back then that was what, Sensei Gary with the Shotokan Club.
I have no clue, man. I didn't do any of that stuff. I watched a lot of Bruce Lee.
Yep.
A lot of Van Damme. I was a huge fan of Ninja Turtles.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was an early adopter to UFC. I watched it when I was a kid. My brother Jeremy was into it and got me into it. I think the first one we watched was UFC 13 or 17. One of the first one Randy Couture ever did. I remember Randy Couture was the first one he ever did. Yeah. So and I remembered that was the first UFC I ever watched, and I remember watching it there. We had like one of those big ass satellite things, and it's one of those things you're not supposed to order, but order. So it was one of those things back then. It started a fascination with that for a lifelong thing.
So with that in mind, so what's interesting about life as it is in 2023 when it comes to martial arts and the grand scope of things, where we have so much exposure.
Alex, pause one second.
No worries.
So Alex, if you want to, I'm gonna get the speaker going. I'm just gonna close those doors behind. Hey, sorry, people, whoever is listening to this is live. Alex is gonna hit stuff.
All good.
There you go. And have fun. Hey, by the way, thanks. It's all installed. Looks great.
Beautiful. You had all the pieces and parts?
Yeah, dude. Everything was there. I appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, remember to hook that up if you want to. I'm going to just go ahead and come back in here, but I get coffee. So anyways, back to your question. Sorry.
Yeah, so with the landscape of modern martial arts as it is now today, with access to a ton of content out on the internet, we've ran into this thing, especially with the pandemic. A lot of people reverted back to this idea of self-study, self-drilling, seeking their own journey in martial arts, and not actually being participants in but fully manned classes, because we couldn't. And do you find, with how your martial arts journey was in the past as a younger man compared to it is now, that seeing some similarities with how things have been, where it is a lot of self-study based upon inspiration, based upon available content?
Well, it all depends on the people. Depends on and this is where it depends on the person for me. On me, I do really well with self-study. I like self-study because I'm kind of like a scientist. I kind of want to go and try and tinker with stuff and don't want anybody to bother me, things like that. Some other people are a little bit more social and they learn a little bit more socially. So they like to have fun with somebody else. It depends on what type of person they are. So for some people, they really excel at that. For some people, if they don't have the interaction with somebody else, it's hard for them to learn. So it depends on the situation. So I feel that it really benefited me because I'm a horrible introvert, and I literally, that's the reason I call my place the cave, is because I'm hiding out in my cave. So I just want to have fun, learn martial arts, and be in the biggest dork I can, and everybody leave me alone.
Nerd life is the way, man. It is, absolutely. Because the fact is, let's face it, martial artists are a bunch of nerds, and that dangerous nerds, but it's a good thing.
When it comes to it, I'm really happy that we have the access to the content. I'm really a big fan. I utilize YouTube all the time when it comes to clients, because I always put stuff on a small little YouTube page for my personal training clients or people I'm training for fights. Just, it could be simple as putting a combination art and you put a hyperlink. I mean, that's such a beautiful thing to be able to do now. That's utilizing technology as a good tool. But I think it's amazing. There's it used to be hard to get knowledge. Now a person could become an expert off of all this stuff, and all you have to do is put some work in, because it used to be, it'd be really hard to get certain type of information. Now you can get all the information you want. Now you just need some good people to test out that stuff on, and it depends on how you want to test it out.
So are you fighting? So there's always this balance between solo drilling and in-class drilling, because the fact is, when you're doing your punches, you're doing your kicks, you're doing all that personal development, you don't necessarily need your coach, your guru, your sensei there to tell you how to punch a board or a bag 100% of the time. So what's interesting is this pushback, but also like this progress of, because what the pandemic forced us to do is do stuff on our own. And it's an interesting situation where people like have resistance about the YouTube fooing, doing solo training. But the fact is, you're the one with the bag. You're the one with the Makiwara board. You're the one with whatever you're doing, putting in the reps. You don't need a coach there necessarily 24/7.
No, I agree with you 100%. Well, you got to realize, if you're fighting, your coach doesn't fight for you. These other people don't fight for you. So you're going to end up having to be independent and have to do it on your own anyways. So finding ways to do it independent and where you can zone in and be more you as you're doing these drills, the better it can be. So, solo is just as important as the group participation, and how you do that and making it more efficient is one of the most important parts. So like, I'm such a big proponent of it. Like I teach people how to shadow box and do different things. So, I'm a big philosophy nerd. Classic philosophy is, give a person a fish, feed them for a day, teach them to fish, feed them for a lifetime. So every time I'm doing these type of things, again, to where these people can be independent, being completely unnecessary to need me, other than coming to see my lovely personality and my horrible dad jokes.
Well, I mean, the fact is, without personality, then there's no reason to hang out with that person, because anybody can seek knowledge, but it's really, you spend that time with a coach. You choose that person that works with you, that works with that is going to jive well with your character, your personality, your ethos. And I mean, that part is, as an athlete to a coach, I mean, it's that you're shopping around and making sure that that relationship is going to work. And
then such an important thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people miss this important thing. They try and go someplace to train hard, but they got to realize training fun is way more important than training hard. And the way it's training fun is with people you enjoy doing it with. So if you can find people you have fun, and you can be as dorky as you want and have a good time learning to become really dangerous, that's really important. Fun is how you learn things faster too.
Absolutely, because I mean, when you get your head caved in all the time, I mean, you're so focused in that lizard brain self-protection survival mode. There you go. Versus the fun side. I mean, that's your prefrontal cortex. It's your decision making. That's your social skills. That's your language centers. That's where art resides. So yeah.
I think my prefrontal cortex will start working after I drink this coffee.
Absolutely. So going back a little bit, you want to tell us about your fight history? Since
sorry, gotta pay
good.
attention here. I'm kind of look at the squirrel, so good luck to you guys.
No worries.
So we were at my first gym. Alex, don't hurt yourself. See, that was vital coaching. Don't hurt yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I choose like all the great coaching jokes from dodgeball. So I mean, the 5Ds is absolutely necessary.
So, all right, let's get back to going what you were saying. So back to fight history. So when I first went into this Muay Thai gym, the instructor really liked me because, they'd throw everything at me. It was a 2-hour practice, and, You know, I went down, like, again, I was like 270 pounds. I got myself down to about 190 pounds at that time. And, and yeah, it was a big to do. And I, you know, worked on fixing my back. I found calisthenics, different movement. I got into a lot of mobility work and a lot of myofascial work, learning to heal the body, which kind of leads to what I do mostly now. But so like I got that and I fixed my back and got into doing that more. And that first instructor, Reza was the gentleman's name. He just it really liked me, how enthusiastic I was and such. So he made sure I kept coming back. And I started training with him a little bit, and then he liked on how much I got into it. So he happened to be the WBC World Boxing Council representative for Iran and Germany. So, so he got me involved, and I learned how to become a judge and referee. So before I even fought, I was actually learning to be a judge and referee. So I took these courses, and I had to work with this guy named Hantong Anik. This guy out of Thailand. He was one of the main people with WBC for a long time. He judged the Mayweather versus Oscar De La Hoya fight. He was one of the judges. That's great. Yeah, so
that's a great fight.
His name Hantong Anik. But I got my credentials through Hantong Anik. And from there, I started refereeing and judging fights in Germany. So I was refereeing and judging fights through that. It wasn't just WBC. They had smaller promotions and smaller belts and stuff like that. I mean, I only was involved in one WBC event over there. The rest of them were like these other smaller promotions. But it was pretty cool. So that got me into it. So I was having a lot of fun. But that was all I was never planning on fighting. I'm not a violent person. I don't actually avoid violence. I'm a big nerd, love playing video games. So I didn't even really like to go out. I'd never been in a fist fight my entire life, really. You know, I've diffused a lot of situations, and I had to do a lot of good verbal judo, but I've never really been in a fist fight until where we're about to get to. So I started doing this stuff, and I started doing these events. So Reza would get a hold of me, and he'd say, all right, make sure you clear your schedule because we have this fight on this day in Frankfurt, or we're going to go to Cologne, or go to this, and we have this fight. So I'd clear the weekends, and I'd go there, and I'd either referee or judge. So then he said, okay, what are you doing in 3 weeks? And I'm like, okay, I'm nothing. 3 weeks, I'm good. So like, all right, good. Don't have anything done going on this day. So like, okay, cool, whatever. It's like, all right, see you at the gym. So we training hard. And then also I knew there was about 4 other guys in the gym that were getting ready. There's a guy named Gino, Michelle, which Michael, you say Michelle in Germany instead of Michael. His name's Michelle. Then there was Adam and Johnny. Okay, there was these 4 other guys that were actually fighting on this card and getting ready. So I'm helping them train, do extra, and then Ray's is like, oh, make sure you're ready 3 weeks from now and stuff like that. Don't have anything planned. I think I have to judge. And then he asked me next week, he's like, how's your weight? What your weight's at? How many kilograms? And I'm like, what do you mean kilograms? And I was thinking I'm going to referee or judge. And he says, oh, no, you're going to have fight. So I signed you up for a fight. So he signed me up for a fight without me knowing. So I didn't even sign up for my first fight. I didn't even want that first one. So he signed me up for my first fight. But I was really lucky. I had this guy named Bayrat. He happened to be like a world champion. He'd been in Thailand a bunch, and he beat the shit out of me so much. He's from Kosovo. He's his nickname was the Crocodiles. Bayrat, the Crocodiles. Last name started with an A. You can look him up. He has a great gym in Germany right now. Okay. But I used to train with that guy, and I do well. And Reza said, you do good with him, you do good with anybody. Do good with him, do good with anybody. And so, it's also, here's something funny. The reason everybody calls me Grizzly actually started there. At first, Jared, it's hard for them to say Jared, so they say Jerry. So they call me Jerry. So Jerry was the first part. And then because I'm always enthusiastic and having fun, full of energy, smiles, as I'm getting my ass kicked, I'm smiling, right? So my first nickname was Crazy Man. So they called me Crazy Man for like months. Oh, they're Crazy Man, because I'm always having fun, asking questions, doing stuff like that. And then finally they found out I'm from Alaska. And then I had a beard and stuff like that. So they're like, Grizzly Bear. So now my nickname is Grizzly. That tracks. Okay. So it forever has been that ever since. So so the Grizzly started with that. So it was Grizzly always going to. So going back to my first fight. On the first fight, we go set up there, and then I found out I needed to make 76 kilograms. So to put that in perspective, that's 168 pounds.
Yeah.
Less than 2 years prior, I was 270 pounds.
Yep.
So I went from there, and now I'm going to be fighting under that.
Oh,
And
man.
it was great. It like getting down there wasn't that bad. Like I got down there, felt comfortable, and it was
Okay.
where it kept. So getting down that super middleweight, which was super middleweight in over there, and I'm supposed to be set up with another C class fighter. There's C class, B class, A class, S class fighters in the kickboxing circuit over there.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Pause, guys. I need to get a charger because I think this is about to die on me. So I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. So, talking about Jared's journey, while he was overseas, getting into fights. I mean, dropping from 275 to 165. I mean, that's huge. It's over 100 pounds. I mean, it's a funny story. I mean, the weight loss side alone, that's tremendous. Because I mean, right now I'm sitting not so comfortably at like 245, but I mean, like when I fought, I was at like 205 is my favorite area. But like when I went into the army at 19, I was 195, and at the end of all that with AIT and basic training and whatnot, I dropped down to like 150, and that was garbage. That was scary. So
All right,
just talk about weight loss. I mean, dropping basically 100 pounds in less than a year. Holy crap, dude.
Well, it's about 2 years it took. It took about 2 years,
Okay,
less
but
than
still.
2 years. So it was under about a year and 6 months to actually get down from there to the fight.
Yeah.
I got it all down about in 1 year, but then it took that little bit more. And then I tried to do research. I have like Dolce method and things like that. So when I went in there, at least I'm a researcher. I love researching information. I'm used to be an insomniac. I didn't sleep very much, so I read a lot. So got into Dolce method, and then there's a bunch of other ones of learning how to cut, how to use electrolytes, and then different things like that, using carbs, water loading. So actually, my first cut wasn't too bad. My first cut, I went from, I believe I weighed 177, and then I had to cut and make weight, and I had to make weight that day. So I had to cut the weight that day and stay on that weight. So what I did is I cut the day before, like about 5 pounds, got down from 177 to 172. And then when I got to Frankfurt, where the fight was going to be, I just jump rope, shadow boxing, messed around, clinching with the guys and sweating. It was a nice warm day. I believe it was June or July, or no, it was April when it happened. It was April when it happened. So it was a nice day in April in Frankfurt when it happened. But it was fun. So I got signed up for that first fight without me knowing, and I got thrown right into the mix with all the guys. Now I knew I was training for a fight, so we ratcheted it up. I can remember Bayrot, that champion guy. You want to talk about scared shitless sparring the first time. I thought I was going to die. Watch too many of these action movies. I was like, boom, okay, that guy's dead for the rest of the movie. I thought that's what was going to happen to me. I remember sparring him the first time, getting ready for this fight. And I was so nervous I was throwing up. I'd have to run, say, excuse me, run out of the ring, go throw up, come back in, spar the round. Thank God I survived, go throw up again, come back in. It was funny. But then it learned to ease them nerves eventually. But but it was a fun experience getting ready for a fight, from never having a fight before in my entire life to going to Frankfurt, Germany was kind of fun.
That alone, the process of training and then getting into a fight, the psychology alone is really interesting, because I mean, we're a martial arts podcast. So it's already like an unspoken acceptance that we do martial arts. We hit people for fun and professionally. But like there is that disconnect within the martial arts community about, like, you got martial artists who do all the non-combative, actually getting in the ring stuff, and then you got everybody else who does. And like that transition between one to the other, back to the other, is really interesting. And for those who have never fought before, I mean, and circumstances what it is, and choices are what they are. But people who have never fought before, that's a different level of martial arts. I'm not saying it's better, but it's a different path. And it's really interesting convincing somebody to get in the ring willingly, with the risk and potential of dire consequences, and come back and do it again. I mean, that alone. I mean, can you speak on that a little more?
Yeah, like, that's a fun way to put it. Like, after that first fight, you know, it's one of those things I didn't know how I was going to feel.
Yeah.
So this kind of helped. I'll explain that fight a little bit more and kind of go into what you were just talking about, how going through those feelings, and then afterwards, you know, going for a second fight afterwards. Went through that first fight. It was terrifying. Didn't know what was going to happen, everything like that. So again, plus there was benefit to being where nobody knows me. I'm in the middle of Germany. I'm from Anchor Point, Alaska. You know, like don't have to worry about that. There's not even anybody from this Bengal Air Force Base coming, you know. So again, I'm an introverted guy, normally play video games. So it's video games to get my ass kicked, you know. So yeah, this is a good life, you know. But so when I went there, go through all these nerves, and there were so many things that went wrong before my fight. But I got into it because I was 27, and it's like, what's the worst thing that happened? I get knocked out. Okay, cool. You know, and also I had okay insurance at the time. So I was like, yeah, if it's not going to hurt, at least I have insurance, you know? So it wasn't too bad, but I wanted to experience it. I wanted to actually say to Phil that I'd been a gladiator, that I went in there, that I've crossed those ropes and was brave enough to put myself out there to be able to be there, because it puts you really vulnerable. A lot of people never experience that vulnerability. They think they're big and tough, but that vulnerability out there is different, because then you put your character, reputation, all these things online. You don't realize that you are, but you are. So a lot of people they get overcome by that. So, you know, I watch way too many 80s movies. So a lot of those, you know, philosophy things I'd always carry, you know, and one of my big ones is I'm a big fan of Cus D'Amato, but turning fear into fire. You know, if you turn that fear into that, but also mine I enjoy is I don't turn fear into fire. I turn fear into fun and funny. So every time I get into a fight, I'm always silly. I like to have fun and do things like that, because that's just me. It's my personality. When I'm serious, it doesn't work. But so when I'm dorky and have fun, that's where I'm able to express myself. And people don't realize martial arts, one of the biggest things about it is the art aspect, is you're being an artist. You're expressing yourself artistically. So finding the best way to be yourself. So one of the things I told myself is when I went to that first fight is just, fuck it. What's going to happen? You know, I'm going to go out there and have fun. You know, so I don't know what's going to happen. So and then that was one of the best feelings, is just letting that go and letting go of that feeling. Now led to my probably one of my, I'd say my top 5 pictures of all time is me landing this round kick in the middle of Frankfurt, Germany. I'm in front of 1,000 people, and I'm landing on this guy, just excellent. But it's such a pretty picture, and I am so thankful for that. I could have stopped fighting right there and been thankful. You know, could have been done. I actually, even after that, had that question. Like, I went home and my roommate, and it was taking pictures. I got a trophy after the fight. Got this trophy. I was taking it home, and I was like, and I talking to him. He's like, "You think you ever do it again?" I was like, "No, I'm done. I'm good." There's like one, I was done. I even told him after. I was like, "That was it. I've trained. I have fun. I'm gonna learn some more jiu-jitsu. I'm done." I was telling him, but the fight was great. It went out there, and like I said, everything went wrong. I got to Frankfurt, and my original fighter that I was supposed to fight didn't show up. Oh, there's the picture. Thank you very much.
That picture.
I love that picture.
That's a great picture.
The guy, I really like the guy, the photographer. He was a guy with us. My instructor, Reza, is one of his friends from Iran. They have a local TV production. So here's funny. My fight was actually, you could watch it video. I can never find it, but video, they showed it in Iran. Okay. So people in Iran might have actually seen me kickbox. Nobody else has seen me kickbox on the video. That now only I've been able to get pictures. But that guy, he was a really nice guy, but he was originally from Iran and didn't have very much English. So it was a lot of fun. He just always smiles. But I always say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I even gave him a bunch of euro for the picture, just saying that's the best picture ever. Yeah. But going back to how bad that fight was not going, my original opponent did not show up. So I didn't even get my original opponent. So, and I was supposed to have somebody that's a C-class fighter that's supposed to be under a certain number of fights. Okay, so under 5 fights. And such like that. So on my debut stuff, I'm supposed to be in that C class. It's broken up in different ways over there. Yep. So I got there and then found out, they matched me up with somebody else. They matched me up with this other guy, but this other guy, he was like 4-4. So he had like 8 fights. So, and I was in the picture right there against that guy. And then also my guys that I was with, we had the 4 other guys fighting. There's 5 of us total. My instructor and some of our friends were all together like a big group, like all together like a posse. And they're all started kind of laughing and poking at each other, and then pointing at me and say laughing is. Because there's because it found that he's a Polizei, he's a police officer. So I'm fighting a police officer, and they don't mess around over there. And the police officers over there, they're laughing at me. It's like, you better not beat him up too bad because they'll arrest you in the parking lot. So I'm sitting here like thinking they're, for real, because I'm naive. I don't know any different. And so I'm like, oh shit. And then also here come the next thing is I worked so hard to make weight, right? So I made 167 pounds, not 168. I made 167 pounds. So I made that. The guy came in not at the 76 kilograms. He was 81 kilograms. So people don't know 2.2 pounds times. So he was that much more heavier than me. So he's 10 pounds heavier than me. So he's 10 pounds heavier than me. And I have zero fights. And he had 4 and 4 fights. So my instructor actually even had to go tell them, is like, oh, no. Jerry be fine. Okay, no, Jerry be fine. I'm like, no, fuck you. It's like, I ain't fine. It's like, you're going to put me against a guy that's like, no, I want a guy that's never thrown a kick at nobody. Like, come on. So, no, it did that. So it worked out pretty good. And then in the fight went really awesome. Not awesome, but awesome. Because I was so nervous, but I have this favorite song. My favorite song of all time is Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. I'm a Led Zeppelin fan. And it's, I come from the land of the ice and snow. I'm from Alaska. So I really wanted them to play that song as my intro. And I went to the guy in the booth. And if you see that picture there, the booth back behind it, that's where the guy that does the PA and shit, he's back there. And I was talking, and he's like, oh, I don't have the song. I can't find it and everything. And I'm telling him, oh, come on, man. So he's like, I can try and find something else. What's something else? I said, like, find me Lincoln Park or something like that. He says, something. He said, I like you. You're a nice dude. And he said, I'm going to keep trying to find that song for you. So, and it's cool. And I was in the tunnel and I didn't know when it was my turn to come on. And that song came on. And it's the Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. And I started just like, boom, and started running. And it's funny. I ran out there. I got into my ring. And I got out there and my corner guys didn't even know I'd left. So I was in the ring like, where's everybody? So imagine my dorky ass in middle of Frankfurt, Germany, ran into this ring and got in there. And I was like high-fiving people as I'm going by like a big ass dork. And then I got in there, and then my instructor, I finally see him coming with a bucket and stuff like that. So it came out there. So it was really cool. So I got out there, and the first round, and like in the first 2 exchanges, the guy kissed me right in the dick, just bing, good cup kick, right? So, and I was like, God damn. It's like, so we got our break, got our time and everything like that. And I think that guy did probably the best thing for me, but the worst thing for him. So after the referee separates us and everything like that, and he's telling him, oh, watch out, low kicks and everything like that. All right, guys, like I want you, and he's trying to touch our gloves, and the guy doesn't touch gloves. He goes over and he sucker punches me. So then the referee pushed him back. I'm like, all right, this guy's got to die. So then afterwards, I just fucked him up for the next 3 rounds. At the end, their corner afterwards is like, you don't have to be so angry. I was like, that motherfucker sucker punched me. Because I just came back. But then I started like, I didn't know much the fuck I did. I did mostly like, like a person that does super moves, like on a video game. Like if you're riding, you're just doing Hadouken. So I was doing like all the fun shit. Like I was doing like Superman punches, but I had strong low kicks. So like I beat up his legs bad. So I beat his legs up so bad, my legs hurt my shins so bad. That was the only thing that really hurt afterwards is my shins. His legs. But it was a great fight. I ended up winning the fight, the very first fight. I won all 3 rounds. Nice. And then it was just a lot of fun. And then I went out with my guys afterwards. We celebrated. It was cool. And afterwards, my instructor liked me even more and started wanting me to get into it. And he said, it's technical, because I'd be holding mitts and pads because I'm like, hey, I want to learn this. Hey, I want to learn this. Hey, I want to learn this. And then he pulled me aside. He's like, you should do this. And there was this other kid named Gino. He's this little Italian kid. And Gino and I got keys to the gym so we could go there on other times. And so I started doing that. So that's where I got in. I started training a lot over there. And my intention was to stay there. But then I came back to Alaska for my niece's graduation from high school. Yeah. And it dawned on me that I hadn't been in Alaska or lived in Alaska for 10 years. So then I started making my way. I had my next fight scheduled and it fell through. Like the whole event got canceled, and then I made that decision afterwards because I've been doing the same thing for like 5 years in Europe, and I was ready to make a change. And I wanted to come back home. I want to spend time with my dad. I want to spend time with my family and do things like that. So it's just gone too long. And then I wanted to come back, and I actually wanted to try other things. I was big into jiu-jitsu. I really love jiu-jitsu. I was a huge fan. Like, one of my favorite things in the world is a triangle choke. A triangle choke is just one of my favorite damn things on the planet to do. So, I just find it in every place. I love the triangle choke. So, and I got into that and just loved doing jiu-jitsu. So when I got back in here to Alaska, I went to Gracie Baja and started training at Gracie Baja. And I enjoyed it, had amazing times. I spent about a year training with Gracie Baja, but I also was getting involved into fitness and health and wellness. And I started doing a lot of personal training and things like that. So I started doing a lot of that. And then plus with my weight loss journey, and then plus recovering myself from my back injuries, I have shoulder injuries, I have knee injuries. I've recovered all without surgeries. I met a really great person, a great doctor when I was in Germany, and he was giving me shots into my spine. He says, continue this, you're going to have this happen, and we'll fuse this, do this. Or you can do the hard work and you can work on this and add a little bit more knowledge, and you seem like a smart enough kid and you want to try this out. And then he introduced me to this other gentleman over there named Lothar, and then the rest is history. I just fell in love with this stuff. So, and also getting in shape, like, hey, anybody can do this. And I thought nobody, it was so hard to get into good shape, but it's just consistency, it's just getting in there and just doing the work. And I just, found that secret and kept it going. And then I found ways to roll that consistency into other things. And that's how, stuff happened in martial arts. So I was just kind of think of periodically putting things in place. So I'm trying to think of hey, I want to get good at this. I know I'm not good now, but I can take the time to do so because I've been bad at something and got really good at something. So you can transfer that to every skill. But I got into jiu-jitsu over here, and I did a lot of gi. I spent a year to 2 years doing gi work. I love the gi and stuff like that. But I'm not chasing promotions. I wasn't chasing promotions. I was trying to get skills and drills and stuff like that. And mine is also trying to find training partners that I enjoy working with.
That's huge.
I spent that year with Gracie Baja. After Gracie Baja, I went to Thailand and I went to Tiger Muay Thai. And I spent time in Tiger Muay Thai. Met a lot of wonderful people. And if anybody's looking for a trip to go over to Thailand, I recommend Phuket. The entire island is amazing, but also Tiger Muay Thai is amazing. There's also places like Alexander Volkanovski has that Bang Tao that looks amazing. I think that's where I'm going to check out.
It does.
But so went to Thailand and then came back, was at Gracie Baja for a little bit more. I jumped around a lot afterwards. I really wanted to sharpen my hands in boxing. So I started working with a gentleman named Naji Shahid. He was on base for a long while. He used to be a pro boxer, like a big heavyweight guy. He's some of the fastest hands I've ever seen. But I used to work with him a lot. Then I went to Daniel Choi's, and I was in Daniel Choi's 4 hours a day. Then I met one of my favorite trainers of all time, and a person that I give virtually all credit to my boxing, virtually most of it, is going to be Tony Ridges. I met Tony Ridges at Daniel Choi's. And Tony, I'd always watch him, marvel him at his spar because he would have sparring partners there and they'd be working and doing stuff like that. Yeah. One day his sparring partner didn't show up and I'm always there. So he's asking Daniel, is anybody here wanting to spar? And, I'm not ready to go against Tony. But, Daniel's like, oh, Jerry, you go ahead. So I jump in there and I started working with Tony. And Tony's like, well, we go light a little bit, play around because it's brand new. So he liked it because I was having fun. I kind of laughed doing the silly same shit I normally do. Wasn't taking anything serious, just trying stuff out. He'd do something, I'd mirror, come back, I'd try it on him. So he liked it. After that first round, he's like, you doing pretty good? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I have great cardio. So he's like, we go again. And I was like, all right, go second round, having fun, mix it up a little bit more. And then third round, he asked you, go again. I was like, yeah, go again. Fourth round, go again. And I was like, all right, go in. We did 12 rounds that first day together. And
there you go.
We good friends. And then afterwards, he'd show me bag work. He'd show me footwork. He'd help me work on getting my head moved the right way, doing all the different type of things. He'd help me develop some rhythm. I'm a white. I didn't have rhythm. So I developed some good rhythm working with him. So, and Tony just turned my fighting. I used to be a stiff Muay Thai guy, a really long guard Muay Thai guy. Let you coming in and do things like that. you know, and then it learned me how to use things defensively different. So I really appreciate it. So Tony started inviting me. He's like, hey, you come in here midday all the time, right? I see you working stuff. It's like, how about we do some sparring? So I started sparring with him every day. And, you know, you want to talk about going from level here, because Tony Ridges, he's one of the most brilliant boxing minds I've ever met. So it took my IQ from down here, and I went to school. So I'm really thankful for that. So then I was getting ready for my first MMA fight. All this, I did my first jiu-jitsu tournament too. So I had like a bucket list. Because I know I started late. I started at 27. I know I didn't want to make a career out of it. You know, I enjoyed it. This is like, I got to be my favorite sport. It is my favorite sport. I was obsessed with it. You know, but, you know, I had bucket lists. I know I wanted to have that Muay Thai fight. I thought that was going to be it, and I was done. Then afterwards, I had certain things. I wanted to have a jiu-jitsu competition. I wanted to have an MMA fight. I wanted to have a boxing match. I wanted to have a fight against a much larger opponent. I wanted to take a fight on short notice. There's these certain things that I want to check the boxes as a fighter. I didn't want to have a career like I'm trying to make money, but there's certain things. I wanted to land my favorite submission. I wanted to land my triangle choke. Okay, which I did. I'm so happy. So, anyways, that's after I like that was really, I should have just stopped right there. I should not fought anymore because I'm not trying to get money or anything. The glory was just for my own personal satisfaction of actually understanding my art actually works. You know, so so I did that. The getting ready, did the jiu-jitsu tournament. After the jiu-jitsu tournament, I started getting ready, and then I went to Thailand, and then I was getting ready for my first MMA fight, which he was showing earlier. And I was training a lot of different places. But at the time, some of the gyms had fractured. There's sometimes, you know, just gyms that they'll get little groups that like together and they make their own little group together. So there's these old fractions. Some of those guys, you know, that I used to train with a lot before I went to Thailand had moved to different places. So I was training a lot. I was going to ABJJ. I was going to Daniel Choi's. I was still going to Gracie Baja's. I was going to Najee Shahid. I was just trying to soak up as much information as I could and wanted to be prepared. I'm those guys, you know, prepared. I love, again, philosophy. I love this one from Abraham Lincoln is if you give me 8 hours to chop a tree, I'll spend 7 hours sharpening my axe. So I spent all that time sharpening my axe. And that's the reason I went out and finished, you know, that guy in 1 minute and 6 seconds. Is because I worked all that hard to make that easy. You know, the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in battle. So, you know, it was that's what led into all that stuff developing into where that fight, where it culminated. Now, if you watch that fight, watch the silly fucker at the end where he's, you know, I'm looking like fucking Elmo. But, you know, like you see that, but I was just so excited. And I love that one, especially because my sister's in the background. Yeah. You can hear, like, my sister, my family's commentary is like gold. But yeah, you know, like you see, and then plus like a motor mouth you can hear. But it was fun when Kevin's doing the mic, and it's fun because it was before I knew all these people. And eventually, you know, like continue on. This is a long story. Sorry, folks. And then after
good. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I know. After that fight, I started collecting a bunch of people that I'm training individually, and people started knowing me as the Muay Thai guy that went to Thailand, the guy that had this fight in Europe, and the little Alaska kid. You know, I'm this silly dork, and people just knew it was like this dorky guy, and some people just didn't understand me. I don't know why, but I'm just the same dork I always have been. So I started training, so I started doing my own thing, and so I started training so many people that I had to find. Oh gosh, did I lose you? Am I losing you?
Nope, I still see you.
Cool. Let me make sure this thing's on the charger.
Yeah, no worries.
I don't want to lose you because we lose battery here. No, we're good. All right, sorry about that. So where was I, bud?
You're talking about gathering up your original crew.
Oh gosh, yeah. So what ended up happening is I started getting a motley crew of people that just wanted to train with me, and I do that, and I kind of mix everything. I like to break things down technically. So we train jiu-jitsu, we train wrestling, we train boxing, we train Muay Thai. We work on the transitions between those two. We go to random spots like AK Fitness, Alaska Club, this, and do all these random spots. And then finally somebody's like, Jared, why don't you? I wish you just had a gym. And I'm like, I don't know, that's a novel idea. Maybe I should do that. So then I started working on trying to develop to do so. So it was just a matter of just all these people that had collected and wanted a home. And I've been getting into training, and I really enjoy helping people. So helping people realize their potential is kind of, I think, what my lot in life is supposed to be. So did that, and took all my personal training clients, and then also all these people that want to train martial arts with me, and opened my first gym. And the first gym was called Martial Art, and it was turning fighting into a work of art was our little ethos, if you'd like to say. But I was, as my thing is, I'm too much of a Bruce Lee nerd, is, absorb what's useful, discard what's not, make things unique to yourself. I'm paraphrasing. I know I butchered that. But, like doing things like that. So it was about trying to find the different things that you wanted to add to yourself onto it. And like I said, I've never been chasing belts. It's always about chasing information. And so it's getting better at certain things. If you're trying to get better at jiu-jitsu, get better at jiu-jitsu, so on and so forth. So we had jiu-jitsu classes. We had Muay Thai classes, boxing classes. We had MMA classes and such like that. But I was running by myself, and I was running myself ragged. So that was one of the things that happened onto that. That first gym was an eye-opening experience, not only from a business standpoint, but also from a social standpoint. So, but yeah, I just collected all those people, and I fought a couple more times MMA and had success. Was it my second or third fight? My second fight was fun. I fought this guy named Charles Wells, and I gotta say thank you, Charles, man. You made me a stronger person. And Charles Wells, man, if you're ever out there, you listen to this, thank you very much. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, was fight you. That guy came at me. I cut him like 5-6 times on his face, landing elbows and stuff like that. But guy came at me, dig deep, and like I said, I wanted to have like those boxes to check, and one of the biggest ones was to have a war. I wanted to have a war where I wanted out, but I talked to myself and told myself, no, get your ass back in there. And that second fight, my second MMA fight, because like I told you, after that first one, it felt like I accomplished everything, checked every box. And then that second fight told me, is like, I wanted that war, and I wanted to have that. And Charles Wells, and thank you very much for that, because that was an amazing experience. And, I was receiving just as much as I was dishing out, and it was a beautiful fight. So I had that fight. And then after that, I started training people so much, it was hard to fight. And then plus I started getting some nagging injuries happening. Stuff was going up, and I was working too much, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I'd fight a couple more other times and stuff like that. But then I was actively with this gym, so it was more about getting everybody to fight. My last MMA fight for a while was I fought a main event against Seth Kroll up in Fairbanks. It was a fun one. It was a great fight. That was one where I landed my triangle. So that, again, checking my boxes. That was my triangle fight. So I was so happy to get that fight. It was a main event up there, and he's a tough kid. And man, it's like he hit me so bad in the balls, but it wasn't his fault. He wasn't aiming for the balls. I was clinching and firing knees, and he was trying to hit my body, going either side, just trying to beat on my body. And I was turning my body as I'm throwing this knee. So I just got in the right position. He landed one of those big hooks to my groin, my metal cup. It dented my metal cup. It was horrible. And I'm sitting there on the ground, like crying, trying to get up this down after the shot. I get up off that shot, but then get back to work. And then that round, I finished that triangle. The thing that's fun about that one is, it's kind of sucked that I got hit in the nuts on there, because my plan was to propose to my wife after I won, which they catch on video. And thank goodness she said yes. But, it was just it's just fun going through all these memories on this stuff. But after that, I just kind of stuck mostly to just training people. I also refereed, got involved with Thursday night fights with not just people fighting, but I was also refereeing people fighting, helping out with wasn't helping out with matchmaking yet there, but I was just helping out with a bunch of different stuff at Thursday night fights, and then just having a bunch of people going in and out. Then also started refereeing for the Alaska Fighting Championships. Sarah and Paul Stockler brought me in to do that, because I also had been refereeing out at Billy Christensen's promotion up there in Wasilla, which is amazing. When his promotion first started out, it was so much fun going out there. My wife and I, when we were first together, when we were dating, it was one of our favorite dates, was every Tuesday, because it's Tuesday night fights. We'd drive out there, and we'd drive out there every Tuesday and have just a blast. So she'd get able to sit ringside while I'm refereeing and such. So it was just a blast every time going out there. So doing that, and it's just been fun getting involved. So, refereed thousands of fights out there in the Valley, and then refereeing out there at Thursday night fights. And then the AFC went there and started refereeing there with Paul Stockler, and working there with Sarah, which was awesome. And it was awesome being involved with that.
And you refereed for us for a couple of years as well with Matthew and I. Yeah.
Well, I was about to get to that. So then
Oh, yeah.
after all that, the Peninsula, people are calling me, and met people like Seth Stacy down there, met people like yourself, Matt Plant, all these amazing people, good old Will Baker, all these awesome people that, met down there. And I loved you guys putting on the promotion down there. I wish that stuff was there when I was a kid.
Right.
There's this amazing fun promotion where you guys were putting on wrestling and kickboxing and boxing. It was silly. It was
straight up silly, but
no athletic commission. So it was fun. Oh God, I have an amazing. It was fun memory. We had a seminar where what's his name? Dwayne Ludwood. He came up. Dan came up.
Yeah.
So Dwayne had come up and he'd watched the fights, and he had talked to me at the seminar the next day, and he marveled at the fact, because I'd never done wrestling refereeing before. But apparently their referee didn't show up, so they asked me to do it. So I tried it on the fly. So here I'm doing pro wrestling, then doing real fighting there. He was like, how could you go from that to that to that? It was fun talking to him the next day, because he was sitting there like cheering me on, and he'd come up to the ring and was like, dude, that's awesome. So because I was going back and forth. So that was fun. It was fun when he was in town for that. But all those guys, they made the Power Plant Productions, everybody from your guys' gym, Seth's gym. I can't say all the fun times at the Duck Inn afterwards. I got to say that promotion down there was fun, and I always had fun coming down and refereeing for it.
Oh yeah, we loved having you there, because you brought, and I was talking about this before you got on, is you brought a certain level of class and a lot of fun for us. Because I mean, you.
Oh, good. I understand the fun thing, but saying I'm classy, I don't think so.
I say like your appeal when you have your bow tie and your blue shirt, you are Jared the professional. But afterwards, I mean, we had fun. I mean, when you would do seminars at the gym, I mean, we had fun, and that was great about having that dichotomy and having that just like that family atmosphere. Because one of the things that people don't really understand or don't realize maybe about Alaska is, I mean, we're the biggest state in the union without a fight commission, but our fighting community is really, really small, and we know everybody. And we've worked with everyone, and that speaks to like the importance of having good character, having good ethos, having good business practices, and also just being cool people. And you get to meet cool people, and if you have worked well with everybody, we all get along quite nicely. And that's like, again, the cool thing about having you as a referee, as like the referee and all the fights, is like you were there and you elevated the fights to, I just said, that level of class, and then the clinics afterwards just added more to the overall appeal, because it wasn't just about the fights; it was just the whole experience thereafter, which was great. So, and I've always really appreciated about you and your friendship. So,
well, sir, I really appreciate the sentiment. I really, really, honestly do, and I'm humbled by all those words. I can't say enough. And my intention of coming back from here from Germany is try and create a good community. And again, like not having this growing up, I was like, this is like I wish what I would have, and I'm trying to pass on as much as I can. Everything I learn, I want to give out. I'm one of those type of people. So I'm really, really been excited, and it's been a pleasure to be involved with everything from Thursday night fights, AFC, to Alaska, or the Tuesday night fights. Now it's Alaska Combat Entertainment. Also, Solid as Rock. This one, I want to shout them out. Solid as Rock Fighting Championship. Scott McAfee, you guys are amazing. Keep doing amazing things. I'm looking forward to that event in December. I'm really happy that they're giving such a wonderful venue, and they are putting on a professional job right now when it comes to putting on. So I fought for Scott, and this is for Scott McAfee's show. And I can't say enough about those people are class people. So I'm looking forward to more and more of their promotions. So, but here's this nut shot, you guys. It's coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up. And that knee landed good on him. But here comes these shots. This is gonna suck. Show you which one dents my cup. Oh! God, get that guard up right there. Ow!
Yep. Sorry. And the delay. Ooh.
Well, I had to hold his, like I was holding for dear life on his neck. Yeah. And all I could say to Shorty there was balls, balls, balls. That's the only words that could come out of my mouth was balls. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, there's my buddy.
I remember.
Hey, there's Potbelly in the back.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen him in years.
Like,
Well, I remember when I took
ooh.
Jason Pollock up there for AFC, and he fought against Al Matavao, and like when Al got smacked by Jason and with a crotch shot, I mean, he was down in the corner side with me and my corner guy, and I mean, we're trying to like coach him through, like, dude, breathe, it's fine, you're good. And we're cutting up with him. It's just like that alone, like what people don't understand about like fights in the fight community, especially in a small community like Alaska, is we're all friends and work together. So it's like it's not so much like dedicated camps of your team versus my team. I mean, as much as there is that, but it's like we all work together, so we can allow for a lot of that levity. And I mean, there are a few grudges, but like the majority of the time, it's like we're
That's
here
necessary.
together.
Okay? Human
So
beings are going to disagree.
yeah, but yeah, no, it's great. It's really cool to see like with Al moving on to some of those bigger promotions. So
Yeah. No, Al's is fun. His name is rather appropriate for the way that he fights. Sweetness is
oh
a
yeah,
great way to really to explain how the way that he fights.
yeah.
Really slick.
So just for like the sake of our viewers, how many fights have you had overall? Because if you talk about your bucket list, but we haven't actually got the numbers. So how many fights do you have, Jared?
Only about 10 total
Okay.
altogether, and that includes. Let's break it down. So my bucket list thing. So I had a kickboxing match, and I've had a Muay
Hmm.
Thai match. So I've had one of each. So one is kickboxing, means no elbows, no knees, and then the
Hmm.
clinch, you're supposed to separate in the clinch. So I had one that, and then I had a full Muay Thai rules match. So I going on to that. So one a kickboxing, one Muay Thai match.
Hmm.
I've had one boxing match at Thursday Night Fights. I took a last second fight for Thursday Night Fights, which was a lot of fun. Um, that one was great. That was one where I took a last second notice on 10 minutes notice. The guy outweighed me by over 50 pounds.
Yep.
I wasn't supposed to fight that night. I had to make sure I had to run out to my car to see if I had a mouthpiece. I had long hair. I had to ask a lady to for a thing to put my hair up, and went out there and had fun against the guy. He was a rugby player, big guy named Kevin Hyde. It was
Oof.
a lot of fun. But anyways, so
Oh
I did
man.
that. And so that was a lot of bucket list on. So I had my boxing match. On MMA, it was, I think I'm 4-1.
Yeah.
I'm 4-1 in MMA. So there was that first one. There's the Charles Wells. There's Cody Rice. There's Seth Kroll, and
Yep.
then I had one. I had some neck issues, and you know, watch out for up kicks. I was what was that gentleman's name? I'm having such a brain fart. I feel so bad. I'm forgetting his name. He's a really nice guy, but he's the guy down in Juneau. I fought a guy down in Juneau,
Oh
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
I lingered too long over top after getting him down onto the ground, and he threw an up kick. I turned my head, and my neck was already injured. I shouldn't have taken the fight, and then my legs went limp. It was the scariest shit ever. But that was the last MMA fight I had. Was that? I think that's it. So there would be
Yeah.
5 onto that. So 8 fights total, and then.
Triangle.
Like
Here we go.
two tournaments, like a lot of smokers and things like that,
Yeah.
but smokers, I'm not calling fights. It's not, spectated. There's some spectated, some not spectated, but,
Yeah.
and then just probably now hundreds of thousands of rounds of sparring. So,
Yeah. So that and compared to like refereeing, I mean, you've refereed thousands of fights. So like the thing where again with the martial arts community in general is like this issue about like efficacy versus quantity. Because I mean, people want to say like, will it work in the streets? Will how good of a fighter you are? But the fact is, it's in time and it's putting the effort in, and also it's just like uh, it's by quantity in a lot of it. Because I mean, not every fighter is a great fighter, but they make for great coaches. Not every great fighter makes for a great coach, but they make for a great referee. But like you've done the whole gambit. Like I was telling people in the beginning here that you're a fighter, you're a coach, you're a gym owner, you're a referee, you're a promoter, you're still a referee, you're still a coach, and have your second gym. I mean, just the breadth of that
still promoter.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, all of that is, it, I mean, that's the full gambit. I mean, if we want to talk about like the professional martial artists, aside from like doing movies and stunt work, I mean, from a professional combat sports athlete, I mean, that's the full breadth of it.
Hey, I had
And
boxes I had to check. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, which is great. And like not a lot of people have that opportunity to do that. And the fact that you did, that's phenomenal. Because one, here's a beautiful moment. You're proposing to your wife.
Yeah, no, good moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got 2 kids. I got a 4-year-old
Yeah.
named Jasmine, and I
Yeah.
have a 9-month that's named Kiki or Kiana. So got my little ones. Fun stuff.
Yep. That's awesome.
And I see that the comments thing. I just realized that the comments. Jacob,
Yeah.
I see that you're listening. Jacob, I still have those videos. I have that video of that card right now. So, and answer somebody else. This is kind of cool, dude. I've never really done one of these. I'm looking at the comments. Brian Rodriguez.
He's my
I was
co-host.
actually there as a civilian at Spangdahlem Air Force Base. I was in the military before I was stationed at Minot Air Force Base. I was in the Air Force. And I got out of the Air Force and I worked as a civilian contractor in fuels, which is POL. So I worked in the storage of the fuel and transporting from Eder Oberstein through pipeline to Spangdahlem Air Force Base, and then we'd send it out to the pipeline through to the flight line. So I did a lot of stuff to do with fuels in the military, and that's what I did when I was there for 5 years in Germany. Yeah. But yeah, Jacob, yeah, since you're listening, bud, get to the gym. Waiting on your comment, Jacob. I'm looking. I'm waiting. Or ask your wife when we're going to do some karaoke next. Waiting. All right. We'll give him time. Oh, here we go.
Well, wait. Here we go.
I'm sorry, Brian. I'm sorry you had to be in Minot for that long. I was stuck there for 3 years, and it was 3 years I cannot get back. So, oh, good. Tonight, Jacob, I think we're going to Jewel Lake Park, and where there's a birthday, so we're probably doing karaoke at Jewel Lake Park with my wife's big, giant Samoan family. And my silly ass will be singing really too loud and obnoxious.
Gotta hang with that. There you go. So, back to what I was saying with for our beautiful moment there. The gambit of being a professional martial artist as to where you are at now. I mean, you've had to start over a couple times.
Yeah.
And this is actually like for context for people, and what's been really helpful for me over the years, especially these past 4 years after I shut my gym down, is like you have been one of my primary mentors about talking about life after that first gym, life after committing so much emotional resources and transitioning to the next stage of your evolution. So, can you speak on that about what it's like moving from committing so much effort to a shutdown and then kind of building your way back up again? Because that right there is something that a lot of people need to hear in general, that it's okay to fail and it's okay to start over.
Well, I ran into this where, I was willing to give. So I was, filling everybody else's cup. So I was just constantly filling everybody else's cup because I wanted to. That's all I want to do. I want to give. I was like, that's the type of person that I am. And so what ended up happening is I had nothing left. There's nothing left to give. I was in there all the time. And I was, at the time was dating my wife. And it was really strange because we didn't spend any time. I was at the gym. I was at the gym 15, 16 hours a day, and I had way too many open hours. I wasn't structuring my day right. I just didn't know. I had, I know I could do it, but should I do that? I wasn't being efficient and effective. I was trying to think no, just work harder and do things like that, not being smart, not having a balance. And that balance just led to a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and it was really hard. And going away from that first gym was actually financially ended up being successful. It was hard going up and down. It was a big gym. That's one thing, is starting a lot bigger than probably what I should. And it, it's had people that support and stuff like that, but it was way bigger than I wanted. And I go back to being an introvert. That was the hardest part. is, I'm always having to I was putting on like a mask instead of not being my real self, like not mask, but like I was sitting there always afraid because I'm, not being my true self because I'm sitting there introvert. I'm ready to go back and get some recharging somewhere else. And I'm giving out, and I don't have anything left. Once I have nothing left, I have nothing left. So I do that every day, and it was just wearing. So I just didn't have balance. I didn't have balance at all. And it started working on creating a lot of issues in other places in life. And so I needed to step away from it. So I did 2 years of it and stepped away. And so I had my gym open for 2 years, but it got to the point, and then there's a lot of like I didn't know how to deal with toxic personalities. I mean, as hard as that to put, I just didn't know, because I like being a nice guy. I'm again, never been in a fight before I fought in front of people in gym. I'm a nice guy. I love being a nice guy. I want to be a nice guy. That's my ultimate goal, is just to be a nice guy. So when this happened, I allowed too much of that toxic stuff to affect me, and thought that I needed to help people out. Sometimes people that I probably shouldn't have been helping, and I should have been helping the people that mattered more. So it's the squeaky wheel that was getting the grease, and the people that needed the grease, like the real cogs, the people that they weren't getting the attention that they were supposed to. And it was just because I was so stuck with, dealing with it. But I didn't know. To be honest, socially, just didn't know how to deal with that. Again, more of an introverted person, grew up from Anchor Point, Alaska. I was a kid that liked to be alone. I like to be a thinker, doing things like that. So it was just hard. And I was just trying to be like I am. I like to be everybody's friend as best I can, because, I don't think everybody's just walking around being a kid, trying to be a kid. So, I know that's so I'm just always trying to go around with that. And I didn't know how to deal with it at first. And then also came down to is like, my wife and I wanted to progress. We weren't married, but I had proposed to her, but I couldn't save money. All the money was going to the gym. Any money I'd come out of it wouldn't be very much. It's going back in there, expenses to the gym. And then I'm trying to do that. And we'd even, supplemented income in different ways, like staying at another person's place and doing things like that. But we're trying to make it work, but it was really hard to do so, because you had the overhead and all these different things, which people didn't understand. So when you go there, and then some people be, like, oh, this training, none of that stuff, don't realize that somebody's dealing with a lot of overhead and a lot of stress, or also dealing with a lot of personnel. So it's really hard, but you have to learn that. But that was a big growing thing that I had to learn from that is one is like, you got to learn how to deal with people better, communicate with people better. It's hardest to do. It's one of the hardest things to learn, to communicate with people, because you have to communicate with people differently. It can't be the same. And mine was always approach was the same to everybody else, but you have to approach people differently. So finding out that and finding that balance was huge. So another thing, my wife and I, we wanted to get married. We wanted to get a house, and we wanted to have kids and stuff. So walked away from the gym. The biggest thing was, one, so my wife and I could get a house. So I needed to find a job where enough income where I could actually represent on taxes, where I could get the loan through VA enough to get my house. So and then I went and did real estate management for 2 years, and it was just stealing my soul day by day. It was really hard. And then what happened is, like, it was almost like a whole year I didn't do much of the martial arts at all. I just wanted to be away from it again. And then plus I wasn't even refereeing, wasn't doing nothing. I'd watch, because I was ultimately really depressed, and I'd had injuries that had when I tore my right shoulder twice, I tore my left there. I had some knee issues from when I was younger, but then also I had my hip still from my accident, still getting better. I also had some cartilage damage in my ribs that took forever to heal. So there's all these different things that I had to work on, but then that also got me into more of what I do now. I'm really thankful of some of that, because it slowed me down, allowed my wife and I to get our house, which we got our house. And it allowed me to actually work on myself too. And that's what I do majority of my work now, is I work on, trying to people get into better biomechanical positions. So we're getting further and further away from pain. So pain abatement, but also on top of that, re-engineering the body to get the body to move the appropriate way. So that's what I spend most of my time. And then on, the other parts, just getting fist fights every single day. But that's But after I did that for 2 years, that first year, like I said, it didn't do much, but then it was getting unhealthy. I was not liking life. I got away from this, it was one of my biggest artistic pursuits, and I wasn't being true to myself. So I started, people were still coming over, and I started my cave. My first gym was called Martial Art, turning fighting to a work of art. Now I had my cave in my garage. I still had my mats and my stuff, all stuff. So I set up a bunch of the stuff inside my garage. A bunch of my stuff was in my crawl space. And I just sit there and I train people, and I just train them more. And then, to be honest, I started making probably a little bit more money training people in my garage on off times than I would be on, sometimes a week. I was actually making like when I was doing the real estate property management. So I started getting into it. Plus, I'm personal trainer, certified American Council on Exercise. So I got back into doing that. I started doing training like at it was Uptown Athletic. It was on downtown for a while, and it just had a garage back there. So I did that, and they asked me to teach them classes. So I finally got back teaching classes. Started going back over to like Alaska Boxing Academy. I'm a big fan of it's the amazing youth program. Anybody in Alaska, if you have kids that want to learn to box, go see David Carey over at Alaska Boxing Academy. It's an amazing youth program. Your kids will become better human beings by being around that gentleman and the kids around there. So Alaska Boxing Academy, I started working a lot with him and some of his people. Like there's Nino Delgado, which I'm a huge fan. I started doing strength and conditioning for Nino. And Nino's an amazing boxer. He used to beat the shit out of me. He's a lot smaller than me, but he beat the shit out of me. I gave him a bloody nose once, and I don't think he ever forgave me. So working with him and David was a lot of fun. And then going from there, I started kind of thinking about kind of getting more back into doing gym and stuff. So I worked more personal training and stuff for a while. And then I finally partnered up with somebody and got into a warehouse. So I went into a warehouse and started a private training studio. So the private training studio, my cave went from my garage into this warehouse. And then the cave is where what I'm doing now is I had it in that warehouse. From that warehouse, I moved into another location over there near Costco on Diamond. And then now I'm in my new location when I've been over here for over a year, which is over here on 36 and Hardick. So I have this fun little 1,500 square foot location that I get to have fun with all my little fun stuff here.
It's a great spot, dude. I finally got to be up there since shutdown and the pandemic when I dropped off that equipment, and it's a fun little spot. And it is for somebody who doesn't want to have a team per se, doesn't want to have like the cost of the overhead and the emotional cost of dealing with so many people and so many truths, so many stories, and so much emotional weight. I mean, you get to be very selective, and that's powerful. And that's actually where I'm coming at to my point in my life now. It's like I am okay with the fact that I can be selective, but I have to be very selective. So, and the fact that you got to that spot it's powerful. And then, like for a lot of martial arts, like I've done a lot of meditation and writing and just like looking at things retrospectively of like growing up, I started my training in the backyard with my dad and my uncles, my grandfather, did the whole gambit of the martial arts journey as a professional. And then guess what I'm doing now? I'm back in the backyard with a select few and also my son. And it's interesting how life just kind of comes full circle that way. And just the same with the garage turns into the cave, and the cave is that same atmosphere. And it's really powerful to see that come around. And like people get so hung up on like the big gym aspect of, well, I have to have 5,000 square feet, but it's like 5,000 square feet is a lot of overhead, and it's a lot of personal cost managing all that. Because that's the other one too, is people just don't exactly know what it's like to run a gym unless they do. And I mean, there's so much going on, because the fact is, not every martial artist makes for a great businessman. I definitely am not a great businessman. So,
I'm not a great businessman. I can say that, but I'm happy I got good people that support me, that help me figure that stuff out. That's one of the things is, you always got to figure out who your community is and such like that. Like you were saying, you choose those people and people you want to be with you. But you have to have other people. That was the other thing was back in the past. And I know you and I have had conversations about this. I always felt I had to do everything alone. And I was like, oh, if I'm not getting this, I might get it. So I'd rack my brain. So that was one of the hardest lessons to learn is trying to get, have people to help support. So, getting those people to help support is one of the most important things. So.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a lot of about like the tribe and the community. And the fact is, like a lot of martial arts. I mean, just actually just martial arts in general. People are trying to build a tribe, be part of something, especially like, with these niche, not niche, small select communities like the veteran community. When we leave service, we're trying to get that unit back, that tribal brotherhood back, and a lot of martial artists who are veterans go back to martial arts, and like that social identity, that sense of belonging underneath a common cause, and that shared suffering, shared success structure. But the thing that I found with a lot of those guys and gals is that if they haven't done the work themselves to get beyond just the like conditional identity evaluation piece, they ultimately end up moving on from those communities again, and they're still lost. So I mean, as much as the tribe is what can provide a lot of stability and safety, the tribe is also as strong as the individuals in it, and it's just more than like martial fitness. It's the mental fitness, the emotional fitness, being there, being present, and overall in that growth. And that's the thing that's a lot of people just don't talk about, and that's kind of like what I prefer to talk about on this podcast is some of that emotional growth and mindfulness of the journey of a martial artist, or just an artist in general, is that we are more than the thing that we do. And with that, we have to find valuation in the other stuff that we do, and more importantly, find out who we are, so we can share the best part of us to everybody, no matter what we do. But that's hard to do if one is still stuck in like a state of trauma, a state of belonging, or it's just they haven't done the work. And what your gym does, and having gone through your process, is it helps people in that way of moving on, finding that process. Because I mean, the truth speaks for it by your body of work. So
Well,
I don't
thank
know.
you for that. I appreciate that. Well, I'd rather be the actions versus the words. And it's
Yeah,
always that type of way. And like you got to realize it's only your character is what you do.
yeah,
So it's always trying to do that. As much as people want to try and create their reputation and do things like that, your character really is what's going to drive your reputation. So I'm just trying to be honest. I'm well, that's to be honest. I'm just trying to be honest. I'm just trying to be
yeah.
me. So I can try to be somebody else, but it doesn't work. Yeah, that's it. That's what I just try and encourage. A lot of times you have false bravado and people in martial arts and stuff like that. That's the reason I love martial arts, because there's no faking it.
No,
So a lot of people will come into it like kind of with a different mindset, and I like the mental side just as much as the physical side. So mental,
yeah,
physical, and spiritual. So trying to go in all those, and you got to figure out what you're doing, and then also find the why.
yeah.
So
The
you got to
why
find
is
out behind
huge.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, no, I appreciate that very much, man. And I'm really happy that people find that way out of here. And I'm really happy because I get a chance to work with people from every different gym, and
yeah,
because, like you were saying, sometimes there is a little like gym versus gym, but that's supposed to be. It's just like sports
yeah,
teams. You have the Chicago Bulls versus the Utah Jazz. When I was growing up, that was the big rivalry at the end of Jordan's career. You have that type of stuff, the Cowboy and the Redskins. Well, not the Redskins anymore, the Commanders. Are they
yeah.
Commanders? What are they called?
I think
Commanders.
so.
All right, whatever.
Um,
Yeah, football. But yeah, yeah. It's just I really enjoy it because I have people from Anchorage Grappling Academy, which I love people from Anchorage, like
yeah. Uh-oh.
Academy, big fan. But I have people from Anchorage Grappling Academy, ABJJ. I have people from that I deal with Legacy. I do
Yep,
have people that come in from Alaska Boxing Academy.
yep.
People, I have people that come from out of state still that I haven't seen in a long time, and I'll pop in and such. So it's been a lot of fun to actually be that middle one man, and I like to that people feel comfortable they can come work with me and not have to worry about it.
And that's great that you have that opportunity and that availability to like work with everybody. Because the fact is, I mean, the martial arts community has a tendency to eat itself alive. And what I find is that it's unnecessary for one, but a lot of it's ego driven. The true gems are those who can actually work with everybody, and that's actually how it should be. Because we're honestly not defending our honor as the right of the gym, this, that, and the other. All those like romantic Shaw Brothers movies. It's just like to elevate the status of the martial arts community. We have to elevate each other. And the best way to do it is through positivity and being nice and working well with each other. And just like you see all these rivalries that occur, and it's unnecessary. It it's what's cool about it, like the martial arts community here in Alaska, is we're so small that we can't afford to be a bunch of assholes to each other. I mean, there's a few of us here and there, and things do happen, but the reality is, reputation is a big deal. And the fact that you've had this reputation over these several years of built up is really helpful, because the fact is, you can say things in such a manner that people will listen, and that's important. And that's the thing, like what I wanted to talk about today. Like some of the things that you can talk about is like that uh, growth after traumatic event of losing a gym, or growth after like dealing with the vicarious trauma of other of your athletes, your students, and then the burnout, the compassion fatigue, because those two topics I talk about all the time, and you can talk about it with experience and um, with your viewpoint that still results in a positive viewpoint. So, do you have any thoughts more on, say, like vicarious trauma and compassion fatigue? Because I mean, we've talked about it loosely, but we actually haven't put a title on it here.
No, we can go ahead and do it. And those are wonderful ways to label it.
Yeah.
And I'll try and do my best to illustrate, and that we can use those as best we can. I'm game for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to actually dealing with absorbing other people's trauma,
Yeah.
so the absorbing somebody else's trauma, it's just one of those things. If you're really an empathetic person,
Yeah.
that's one of the things. You're trying to understand what they're going through and try and feel the emotions that they're trying to feel and do things like that. A lot of people go through a lot of trauma. I know a lot of people that have been through a lot of trauma, and me, I'm trying to be empathetic. I want to understand where they're coming from, because I don't want to judge them. Who am I to judge anybody? I want to know what my goal is always, I'm trying to think I want to walk in their shoes, like think on stuff like that, right? So, when you do that, sometimes though, is that bleeds into you. And if you don't have a good way of protecting your own castle within yourself and your own brain, those things can get in, and they can be intrusive and things like that. So, you're going to have some of that, you absorb some of that trauma. So like you're saying, vicarious trauma. So you coming through, and it just them actually giving a little bit of that trauma over, and you don't realize that it's happening, but it is happening, especially if you're being this empathetic person, like a coach that's trying to help or trying to heal and do things like that. So you'd have those type of things, and you don't realize that your trauma is growing within inside you. You just have no clue. It's almost like pressure within a boiler that's not getting a relief valve on it. And then eventually that, without that relief valve going, it's just going to burst. And not knowing that. And it took me a lot of behavioral cognitive therapy. I'm a big fan of it. A lot of meditation and things like that got me past it to realize where was my fault in the situation, and what were things that I couldn't control, what were things I could control. Why was it necessary for me to take on that responsibility? Or I thought that it might have been artificial responsibility, that it wasn't need, but I thought that it was necessary responsibility. So, but it still felt the same in trauma in my body and my mind. So learning to get past those things. And then, just with that, like doing that created, and with me, it created chaos in my oon brain. And from that chaos in my own brain, it created chaos in my entire life. And then in the chaos of my entire life, my wife, and we had having issues, not wanting to, not trying to find purpose in other different works and different things like that, like feeling lost, having a huge void of not actually being who I was, and then that was one of the things. And it was completely lying to myself the whole time as I got away from that stuff, and not knowing about how to recover from these things and understand this trauma and how I can progress past this and understand what it was that made this so important, is I changed my life for the better. And, the reason you were doing this as a coach is you were really enjoying the fact that you were helping people be better, helping people realize their potential, because you were realizing your potential. So I had to do those things of, why am I doing this? Find the why, things like that. So instead of thinking about before, it was, I have this gym, I now have to have a reputation in the gym, reputation of my fighters, this thing, I'm responsible of all these different things, and not realizing it's not really my responsibility. My responsibility is to give you information and make sure that I'm giving you the tools for you to potentially do the jobs that you're going to do later. And I want you to be able to do that job efficiently. I don't want you to sit there beating your head against the wall trying to get a job done. I want you to take that tool, learn how to use that tool, and then all you need to do is go bang and it's fixed. When everybody else is like, I don't know, shit, I don't know how to fix it. You're like, I got this. That's the goal. So it was just had to change perspective. There were so many different things about just understanding perspective and things like that. And there were so many things that I just, like, my brain was mixed up, man. It was just, It was crazy how it was. I couldn't explain it. But then that also got me into understanding more anatomy and biology, understanding the chemicals in the brain, understanding different things from the fascial system to storing trauma in muscles and all these different type of things. So I'm thankful for the trauma because, without struggle, you don't find your strength. So whenever going into that, I'm really thankful for those things, but it was hard lessons. I mean, it was like still stuff that I'm still trying to keep working from and learn from those lessons, because sometimes those lessons just keep coming back until you learn them. But, you find those things, and if you can, you then listen as much as you can, they give you those lessons to move on. But the trauma is one of those things, it's the hardest thing to get rid of. And when I approached that trauma to get past that so I could get back into training, was I had to work on myself mentally, and I really had to work with myself spiritually before I can even get to physically. So at the time, I'd go try and go train and do everything like that. I didn't care. I hated it. I hated something I loved. I literally hated what I loved, and which was so silly. It's just because it had all this emotional baggage on top of it that was preventing me from doing my art, which art is just another word for love, people. So art. So I'm sitting there trying to do my art. So I was keeping love from myself. So I needed to stop keeping that love from myself. And then but I had all these preconceived notions that have already been created through trauma and other different things and other experiences. They're preventing me to see what the real base values of everything was. So once I found those, it made it really simple, and then also, I didn't need to be anything for anybody else other than be for myself. I just needed to be me. So, and that's where, again, the cave, come hang out with Coach Grizzly in the cave is because, and then it's just hang out in the fucking cave. It's not about, I need to be a martial arts school and I have to have stripes and belts and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. It's great to have that. I'm not talking about that. Belts hold those pants up really well. When it comes down to put on there, it's like you want to find people you enjoy training with, and usually the belts just mean you've been training with those people a long time. And so that's what I had to find out. I had to know that you had to find the people that are worth working with, meaning for you. There's 6 billion people. You don't need to affect everybody. That's the same reason, like, instead of a big generalized vague term like martial art turning fighting into a work of art, go into the cave, come hang out with Grizzly and do silly, stupid shit. So that was it, just knowing that I had to be more true to myself. And then being true to myself is understanding these things. I live my life now as a pauper, which is hard to make a living doing this stuff. Anybody that you think want to own a gym, don't. It's not. But the other thing about it is you get a lot of other currency other than just monetary things. The currency is the effect you have on others is way more important. And you got to realize, the service you have to others is your rent that you pay for heaven. Thank you, Muhammad Ali. So when you do this type of stuff, you want to develop a great community. I mean, like right now, I got guys out here sitting there
got a full house
and doing stuff while I'm sitting there talking to you, and they're probably sharing, having fun, doing some knowledge out there, doing silly shit. So it's finding a good place and atmosphere to do that. And what I want to do is just try and find it, because a lot of times people are so intimidated to go to places. I know I was. I mean, shit, like my experience. I can't believe I did that shit, to think about it, going to that gym when I was 27 years old and shit like that. I can't believe I did that. But for most people, even coming into my gym where it's coming to see silly Jared is hard. And stuff like that. It's just they don't realize, because they don't give themselves the opportunity to allow themselves to shine or allow themselves to show more of their own potential. So trying to get to where they can. So, and that's trying to create an atmosphere where it's nice, friendly is such an important thing. So I'm so thankful for, again, we talk about our community. We have an amazing community. I've been some other places it's not, and even if we have these little rivalries, it's squashed quick because it's stupid, because we want to get down to what it is. We want to have fun. We want to do martial arts. We want to have places like Solid as a Rock, Alaska Fighting Championship, Thursday Night Fights, Alaska's Combat Entertainment. We want all these different places to be able to go out and express and show the art and do things like that. But a lot of times people are, feel really intimidated to go in there and don't realize that this is such a peaceful way of living too.
Yeah, it is.
Like it's crazy that, great harm that you learn to inflict makes you more peaceful, but it's made me a more peaceful person. And that's what I like to share, is just keep working on that. Keep sharing things like that. I almost want to turn on, but I don't want to do it to him. But Alex doesn't realize he's out there dancing, having a good time with the bag, and I almost want to show him.
That's good. You should.
Oh, he stopped dancing, damn it.
Because if you can't dance, you can't fight. I mean, I'm of that opinion. If you can't dance, you can't fight.
Dance like no one's looking, always.
Right?
But
I get in trouble for that one.
I'm it's one of those things that's always trying to create that, and I'm happy that's being conveyed, and I'm happy that my character and who I am is received in such a positive manner. To be honest, and going through all the trauma and everything like that, it's just made so that's even better. So it just makes me understand things a lot more. A lot of this stuff I was just naive. 27 years old, I shouldn't be training a person that's a national champion in boxing. I shouldn't be doing this and this and this. That's what's ringing in my head all the time is like, why in the hell am I, fighting this guy when I've had no experience whatsoever? I didn't get in a single fist fight. Why am I, it was all these whys. It was like a lot of this I thought really small of myself, and it's amazing to see the blossoming of potential that has happened for my own self. And I just want everybody to have that awakening, to be honest. It's just the most profound thing that's ever happened to me. And it continues to evolve, and just being able to do that is, again, it's getting paid. Again, owning a gym is not very lucrative, but if you get people that take care of you and you take care of them, it's easy to create that community. But if you like a small community, it works really good. But it can be a bigger community. You have like a Legacy and ABJJ have bigger ones. They have a good community, but again, it's community. You want to be together with those people, but you want to find the people you want to be with. So, I like this. There's amazing African proverb is alone you go fast, together you go far. You just want to find who you want to go together with. And and you want to find that. So creating the atmosphere and that, I just want to have welcome to everybody. I literally get in fist fights from people from every single gym, and so it's so much fun. And anybody that wants to, come punch me in the face, or try. You're gonna try. You're not gonna do a very good job, but you'll try. But no, it's just fun. I really enjoy what I do, but it's a hard life to do. And getting over that emotional trauma and being able to actually understand that. And, it's been I'm really thankful that I was able to help you through some hard times when you're going through it too, because, there were some really hard times, and I'm really happy that my own experiences were able to help somebody else's.
Yeah. And that's the other part about having the permission to share these things with each other, even alone having the permission to share it with yourself, forgive yourself, and then share that with others. That's powerful. And in the grand scope of all of this, we are the sum of our experiences, and some of those experiences can be very damaging to a point of catastrophe. And some of them, I mean, when you share them with others, you realize that this is a human experience. And through this grand tapestry that is our human experience, pain, it can become power, but really we want peace. And I mean, that is something that somebody who has gone through a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, now, that's something that they eventually can find. But there's a lot of people who get stuck and who are still in that traumatic phase. And as you spoke today, some of those things, to get past those things, you would think with a machismo martial arts background, professional fighter, veteran, all these things, that therapy would not be part of that makeup. But the fact is that's mental fitness as much as martial fitness and behavioral fitness. Therapy is a good thing. It saves and changes lives. Now, therapy can be in many forms. I mean, there's the official Western medical approach to therapy, but there's some of the other Eastern therapy approaches. And there was you would think for a martial arts community that relies so much on the ethos of philosophy, that they would actually pay more attention to it. I know in like the combat sports community that gets lost because it's about efficiency and efficacy, but coming back to it in the end, I mean, if we're truly martial artists, that means we're embracing all of it. That includes not just the martial fitness, but it's the mental fitness, because that's when your body goes away, hopefully your brain is still there, and that's what is sustainable. So
You do it right, your body never goes away.
yeah.
So no, like I'm right there with you. And people don't realize on how much of that's important. One of the reasons that, again, I literally get in fist fights 7 days a week is because I'm always trying to find that balance between mental, physical, and spiritual. And once you have those alignment of that, you're just everything runs smooth. It just does. You get there, but there's so many different ways that you have to try and do that, and it does not work unless you work it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So you have to work spiritually, you have to work physically, and you have to work mentally. If you're not working those, okay, say a lot of people do good at maybe working two of them. They'll work physically and mentally, but not spiritually. Or they'll work spiritually and not work physically or mentally.
Nope.
Yeah, I know a lot of those people. Yeah. So make sure you're at least operating on two, not just one. Don't just do that spiritual one.
Gotta have that triangle. Gotta have that triangle. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're always working on that stuff. And the only way that you get better at this stuff, there's no way to get better without doing work. You're never going to accomplish anything without doing anything. The only way that you can accomplish a journey is take the first steps to go and continue through the entire journey. You can't just stop.
Yep.
So
sweet. Well, we've been going at this almost 2 hours. I know you got a stable full of fighters there, getting ready to have some fun. I just kind of lost you. That was all of a sudden and abrupt. But I was trying to do my final out with Jared. Hopefully, it'll pop back in. And yeah. Well, anyways, if he pops back in, I'll do my final outs. But the fact is, thank you everybody for joining us and hanging out with us and having this great conversation with my good friend Jared. I would love to bring him on again in the future because he's got a whole mess of other cool stuff that he does in this community of martial arts and in Alaska. And I'm grateful for you guys spending the time with us, hanging out with us. And yeah, stay tuned for more stuff coming up. We have interviews coming up in August. We have, I think, 3. I'll start promoting those out with Guru O'Brien here soon. But yeah, in the meantime, thanks everybody for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, all those things. Yeah, keep training, keep doing the work. And yeah, we'll all get better doing this thing that we love called martial arts together. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Later. Quick silence, as Paulo calls it. I'll turn this thing off.